Hey, you know what it is? This is Joker News here speaking. We got Snoop Dogg was adamant about his 2Pac successes according to the Outlaws Napoleon. So let's jump right back into it. Hit that like and subscribe, people. I love you all. Snoop Dogg was enthralled by 2Pac's contribution to Death Row Records, according to a member of the Outlaws Pac's organization that he discovered and introduced to the world prior to his passing. Now, Napoleon, a longtime member of the Outlaws and one of the latest rapper's closest confidants during his time on death row, talked the art of dialogue about the reason for Snoop Dogg's choices about Pac and the relationship in recent years. Now, Napoleon cites Snoop being outshone by Pac while on death row as a reason for his rereading of their previous interactions. You know, he can do it in these interviews, Napoleon said of the Dogfather. It's sad, and one of the reasons why I always try to correct this is because he and Pac were friends. I already understand why he's doing that. Bro, imagine if you're the biggest star on death row and Pac comes and steals all your glory. You understand? And 25 years later, Pac died, and every time you interview, this name is brought up. Perhaps he's just trying to take the glory from Pac. Now, Napoleon's displeasure at Snoop stemmed from his reactions to Tupac's scathing diss record Hit 'Em Up, which he recently denied and confronted Pac about in April while on Big Boy's Untold Stories. Man, I'd say we were best friends a week before he died. Snoop said of the radio legend, "We were in New York and things had happened. I forgave him, and then I went and asked how I did and how he felt about Puffy and Biggie." Now, Snoop confesses that his willingness to collaborate with the notorious B.I.G., Puff, and other New York artists splintered their relationships. "I didn't like this song." He said, "I didn't like that at all." Now, Snoop Dogg's friendship with Pac is said to have been a big factor in Suge Knight and Death Row Records releasing Tupac after facilitating his release from prison in October 1995 on a $1.4 million bond. Now, the hit 1996 collaboration, Two of America's Most Wanted, is considered a bona fide classic. Now, watch Tupac's Two of Americans Most Wanted with Snoop Dogg's music video, and you'll find out more information there. But that's not even all to it. The former rapper claimed that it was hard for Snoop Dogg to be the biggest MC on death row, only to have Pac swoop in and get most of the attention. Now, since his untimely death in 1996, many rappers close to Tupac Shakur continue to preserve and defend his legacy. Among those industry ties is fellow Death Row Records rapper Snoop Dogg, who carries Pac's memories with stride and continually honors him. However, according to MC Napoleon of the Outlaws, the Long Beach native was actually jealous of the Harlem-born star in a recent interview with The Art of Dialogue. Now, he spoke on how Snoop has to navigate Tupac's death in almost every media conversation he has. Maybe some of the things he couldn't tell Pac face-to-face, he can do in these interviews, Napoleon said about Snoop Dogg. And this is like some recent beef that's going on between Napoleon and Snoop Dogg, so you guys stay tuned right now because it's some big news. Now, it's sad, and one of the reasons why I always try to correct this is because him and Pac were friends. I already know why he doing that, bro. And so, if you remember, I was saying earlier that he was the biggest star on death row, and then Pac came, and he thinks that he took his shine. So, 25 years later, when he dies, the name is always constantly brought up. But I want to know what you guys think in the comments below about that, too. Now, also, Napoleon said that that's what my name is. MC was wrong to express his dislike of Pac's diss track Hit 'Em Up and should only focus on the positive side of him. Man, I'd say a week before he died, as I remember telling you earlier, Snoop and him were best friends, as said from Big Boy. And even when he played the video for me to Hit 'Em Up, even when he played the song, I didn't like the song, is what he was saying. He didn't like it at all because of what he was saying about Tupac, and he has a lot of respect for Tupac. Now, gangsters is everywhere. They make them everywhere. Regardless of your take on this, come back to check. And it's crazy because Suge Knight is dropping some new information about Death Row Records. The hip-hop tycoon had a conversation with TMZ on Wednesday while preparing for the upcoming series on BOK Prime that documents on his life and the professional journey. In the interview, Suge discussed the environment at death row. He acknowledges that it was as brutal as it was portrayed. However, he also mentions that both Pac and Snoop were accustomed to it. Still, it would be fair to say Snoop probably wouldn't agree. In an interview, Snoop related how he felt about everything that went down at death row. He said, "People broke my spirit. That broke me as a man. They broke my spirit." And he said, "Look, Doggy Style working on Dogfather win my murder case. Dre leaves, Snoop said, Tupac get killed, Suge going to jail, Death Row wants to kill me. That's all in the same year. Sounds like a pretty tumultuous relationship, if you don't mind me saying. Now, Death Row Records was a prominent record label founded in 1991 by Suge. Now, Dr. Dre and the Doc, it was known for their focus on the West Coast hip hop. Death Row signed some of the biggest names in the genre, including Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg, and Tupac Shakur. Now, the label gained a reputation for its aggressive and often controversial lyrics. Furthermore, many of its artists had a strong association with violence, despite its success in the 1990s. Now, the label faced financial and legal troubles, including the imprisonment of Suge Knight and the death of Tupac Shakur. In 2006, the bankruptcy trustee acquired Death Row Records. This effectively ended its run as a major player in the hip-hop industry. However, Snoop Dogg bought the label recently. It was a move that was praised by many. Now, Suge Knight had a lot to say about the work environment at Death Row Records in a new interview. It is true that stuff was aggressive at Death Row, he said, but you had to have your choices if you want to be the best and be a man and do how you want to do it. Now do it. Be about your music. Be about your lyrics. Everybody understood that. Now, so when it came to Pac, I think Pac understood it was more than anybody in the world. Suge went on to say that Snoop understood how things worked as well. But at the same time, you can't take nothing from Snoop either, because I knew I could get Snoop to come to New York with me and promote Death Row faster than anybody else. Now, Suge went on to describe specifically what the environment at Death Row was like, comparing it to sports. He said that he made sure it was very competitive. If you hear any of the albums I did, they was always competitive. It was a competition, because if a person didn't have a good verse, somebody else had to have a better verse, Suge explained. So it was just like sports. We didn't live in church. We're not in heaven. That's like if you're in the jungle, you got to survive. I named my label Death Row Records. You got to adapt. You got to change the environment around you. And so, what do you think about, Suge's explanation for Death Row's environment? I want to know in the comments below. Hit that like and subscribe. Stay tuned. This is some juicy news.